Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cardinal Stadium on the campus of Catholic University for our second Week 1 matchup between the Boston Whitecaps and the DC Current. I'm Jeff Poster, joined alongside Dusty Rhodes for the call of this one. Boston actually playing their second game. They lost last night 22-20 at Philadelphia. DC, this is their opener, their home opener, and ready to defend their 2014 MLU championship. But this is 2015, Dusty, so it's a clean slate for the Current, and we'll see if they are ready to repeat.
Yeah, we're coming out here on a very nice day out at Catholic University. It's a little bit windy. It's kind of coming towards the booth, so towards the camera view as you're watching. But Boston has to do a good job coming out today after their first loss of the season, which took them under 500 for the first time in their franchise's history.
61 degrees game time temperature as he opens up, pulling right to left. Boston will start in the white jerseys with the blue trim and numbers. DC in their home black with the silver numbers. And that's Teddy Brouwer-Jaris on that far side. DC largely, for the most part, unchanged roster from their championship season. This is a rematch as Jeff Graham lays.
That is a
one
laser.
out to Matt Little. He just can't catch up to it. And DC will get their first look on offense after the Boston turn.
If DC converts this one, this is going to be a very, very long game for Boston.
So rematch of the 2014 Eastern Conference Championship, a matchup of the two MLU champions, 2013, 2014. Game Boston certainly had circled. DC, that's Ryan Nam going low for the catch. Little out to cover him, going to Delrico Johnson.
DC's looking very aggressive here on offense. Bad
First
drop
turn.
there.
24, that's Ben Fleming, one of the returners here for the Current.
Sometimes you're on defense for a reason.
Fleming in his third year now with DC. Nice grab there by Taylor when tumbling to the ground. He was looking for a big huck on the flick. Instead, little backhand over to Montgomery Butler. Talked about it in the game against Philly last night. Butler and Brouwer-Jaris in the past seasons have been primarily D-line guys, now switching over in the O-line.
It's a nice break there from Butler to move it over to the far side of the field.
Little low throw dug out by Butler, and now Boston pushing down the field.
Yep, they're doing a good job at staying on this break side right now, and now the open side opens up.
Taylor took a big hit in the game late last night against Philly, and that one's going to float up in the air.
Wow.
Still anyone's disc leaping up, and DC comes down with a D.
And by anyone's, obviously we mean it's Dom Gibson's disc.
Well, Current starting deep in their own end.
A little bit of a travel there, it looked like, for Cranston. He's took a lot of steps after that disc.
That's up to number 7, Ryan Nam. Nam's second touch of the afternoon. Bobble.
Wind is going to be an issue today.
David Cranston again bobbled it, but able to secure it. Swings it over to Eric Astro Minor, turning once again for the Current.
Yeah.
And that one, wind definitely affected it there. Just hard to read the disc in wind conditions like this.
Specifically as it's changing a little bit. Sometimes it's gusty, sometimes it's calm right here.
There are some clouds in the sky. There's rain in the forecast coming up. We'll see if we can get this game in before. Nice cut by Taylor, and he goes in for the score as Boston goes up 1-0. 7:32 left to go after a long opening point here at Cardinal Stadium. We get our first look at the DC offense and the return of Alan Kolick, who has the disc right now, was the 2014 MVP, led the league in assists, missed the championship game, but didn't matter. There's Peter Pryl, the one-time Whitecap, up to, I believe that's Wodach on the far side. The core of this O-line has been intact for this now 3 seasons.
They're doing an excellent job creating space for the cutters right here. It's almost like a 3-person host stack with 2 people on the sideline at a time.
That's John Neely, one of the new faces, dumps it back to Pryl. Quickly up ahead, Tom Doy looking for him, still floating. Neely, I don't know if he could have even had a chance if he had realized it was still floating, and Boston will look for their first break.
Still more issues with this wind right now. Both teams are trying to put in some touch throws, and the wind is just gusting occasionally and taking it away from them.
Straight vertical stack here for the Whitecaps as McDonald comes out and makes that grab. There's Stevens. Calvin Ong was the hero that opened the floodgates against Boston last season, and now we get a whistle.
Another pick call.
Going against Boston, so they'll have to take it back. Holding right around that 30-yard line here at Cardinal Stadium, right campus of Catholic University, but Oh, no, it's actually against DC. A foul coming up, so Boston will take the field position. Cardinal Stadium here, though, to current fans, more commonly known as the Dojo, is in year 2 as its home for the Current.
Boston setting up in a vertical stack here. A little dancing on the dump. I'm not sure that's what you're looking for.
That one's going to float. Simmons might have a play on it, and he does. Collides with Markham Schaffner, and the disc goes down to the ground. And Simmons, Boston already short on bodies after a couple of injuries in last night's game. And now Alex Simmons, the captain of the defense, he is very slow to get up, as we see head coach Sam Rosenthal.
Yeah, that was a tough
trotting out
situation
there.
there for Schaffner. He was trying to make a play on the D there, but the offensive player got there first, couldn't slow down in time, unintentional contact, but still, you don't like to see that.
Let's see if Alex can stay in the game, and Boston would hate to lose him. Obviously, Schaffner not trying to do anything. Sometimes with those ones that just hang up there, especially with wind like this, it's hard to take stock in where the players are around you when your eyes are just on the disc.
As it's hopping around like that, one of the best things you can do as a player is wait for it a little bit to sit, and as that happens, it changes the timing for both the defense and the offense.
Well, Simmons appears to be okay. He'll take the 10 yards. And Boston now threatening to go up 2. He's going to swing it around. Nice big grab before the slip. Here's Victor Liu. First time we've seen him this season. Did not play last night. Simmons back with the disc. Good cut on that far side. I think that's Foster. And Boston with the 2-0 lead.
Boston opened up with a break here. That DC offensive line was not particularly great on defense, but it was that turn to begin with that really set up Boston to take a lead.
So correction, Sean Doherty with the score, making it 2-0. Boston on top, which is what they're going to try to do is Mike Miller's going to try to roll this one right down the sideline. Nice job by him. And it's picked up by Lloyd Blake. Schaffner.
Seems to be a little confusion here. It looked like it rolled out and then came back in.
So they're going to start it, change the field position, but Blake should have to take the disc back. Now they're calling a delay of game. It looked like I saw ref signal. Schaffner hands it back to Blake, and now
This is very confusing right now.
refereeing crew today. Bradley Tinney, Steve Kreider, Jacob Cruxall, Lorenzo Lalimamo, and Eric Clarkson, the chief. Andrew Wynn up here in the booth with us operating the clock, and get play resumed here as Blake dumps it back to Kolick. Kolick, a Blady hammer, dug out nicely by Doy. Up ahead to Wodach. There's Pryl. DC moving quick, trying to cut this to a 1-goal game.
And Boston's now out of their little zone that they started in.
That one floats, and it's caught. Nice job by Doy.
Now, Calvin Ong with a great catch there, doing an excellent job filling in the spaces as he always does.
And the feed in for the score. Kolick with his first assist. Markham Schaffner makes the catch. And DC cuts it to 2-1.
That was an excellent little break there by Kolick. That left hand of his is just so quick that the mark doesn't have a chance to do anything.
4:25 left to go here in the first. It's just a 2-1 game. And the pull by David Cranston. It's a short one in the wind.
Yeah, a little weak there. I'm not sure what's going on.
Quickly picked up Joe Crinkley, one of the newcomers to the Whitecaps.
It's a good job by Rico closing there on that easy reset to take it away.
Up ahead to Graham. Graham had a typical great game last night against the Spinners.
It's almost a foregone conclusion with him.
He floats one up looking for Butler. There's the whistle. Butler reels it in.
That's a pretty quick
Good
stall.
stall. Fast count. They don't have that here in the MLU, though. So DC with an opportunity to get the break and tie this up at 2. Ryan Nam will start things off. And he gets to take it all the way back at that midfield area. So good field position here for the Current.
And each ref crew seems to have their timing a little bit different. That would not have been a stall last night in Boston.
Zach Norbum. Quickly up ahead to Cranston. DC trying to push this. Seth Wiggins. Wiggins is the most recently announced signing for the Current. Did not play last season. Played in Seattle in the 2013 inaugural season.
And he's just a difference maker with the disc in his hand and without as well.
Guarded tightly by Brower. Jarris dumps it back to Cranston. Cranston has Graham on him. Wiggins.
They're going to want to get it off to the other side of the field here pretty soon.
Norbram, this one's floating up and in the hands of Dom Gibson.
Or they could just throw it to Dom.
Dom with the double team, and he finds Cranston in the corner. If there's a double team, somebody else has to be open, right?
And this right here with DC's D this is exactly how they get back into the game.
Dom Gibson connecting with David Cranston. Gibson, who only played half the year a season ago, nearly won Defensive Player of the Year. Boston's Jack Hatchett took that honor away, but impressive start to the season for the young man.
These DC marks are nicely challenging almost every throw for Boston. They're making it very difficult to get the regular throws off.
Graham had the big fake, and another stall called against Jeff. You can't be happy with that. So DC with an opportunity to take a lead.
That's a significant number of turnovers for Jeff Graham in any game. And they're both on stalls.
And another whistle.
What just happened here? Was this looks like a pick downfield, maybe an offensive foul?
So they'll back it up. That's Brent Bellinger.
Ooh, it's a tight little window there.
Eric Miner. Over to Eric Salmi. This is the veteran current defense we've seen. Miner floats one in. They got two guys bidding for it, and the catch is made. No, he says he's out of bounds. The disc was out of bounds.
He just didn't keep his feet down there as he made the catch. It was a great effort, but sometimes that's a really difficult spot to make that catch in.
Boston, a huge break right there. Not an ultimate break, just a break in luck. Here's Graham. Herskew, he had an impressive debut last night in his first MLU game. Nice feed up ahead to Simmons as Boston has a little bit of a hybrid line out here with Simmons playing on the O-line.
Yeah, as the game goes on, I'm sure we're going to see some of that from both sides.
Here's a huck from Montgomery Butler. Graham, this one is floating big time. Graham reaching up, still in the air, a layout bid, and it's no good.
We saw a lot of throws like that last night as well. These discs are just floating a little bit on the players early in the season. Maybe they'll adjust as we go on.
Here's a big float. Up ahead, Graham trying defensively this time, and he gets the D. Nice job.
Egan needed to go up a little bit early there, but he probably didn't know exactly how quickly Graham was going to close on that and how early he was going to take that D.
Impressive by Graham. He was the intended target on the last play and came all the way down to the other end of the field that quick.
Certainly not lacking for effort.
Here he is with the disc.
Oh!
Nice D right there by the current.
It's a heck of a block by Nam.
John Egan. Little stumble. DC right on the edge of the goal line, and they find number 22, Brian Marshall, and take the 3-2 lead.
Sorry, that was an excellent poach block there by Freddie Tsai, not as originally called Nam. DC is just sticking to it here on defense.
58 seconds left to go here in the first quarter. Boston calling timeout after that last score. DC's gotten 3 in a row after Boston had led 2-0. Last time we saw these two teams was in the Eastern Conference Finals. DC obviously took that one 18-17 in a very hard-fought battle. As Montgomery Butler looking to air this one out. Brian Zid all alone at the other end, and he's in for the score. I thought Boston might milk the clock a little bit.
Well, yeah, but you got to take the goal when you have it, and it looked like the DCD wasn't quite together on their matchups there coming down.
3-3 score now here at Cardinal Stadium as Christian Foster with the pull for Boston. Going back to that matchup last year in the playoffs, Boston had a healthy lead as some incidental contact between Kolek and Eric Wilburn.
That's 2 games in a row that Wilburn's been making a lot of contact with opponents' handlers. Yesterday it was Hiernett, and today it seems to be Kolek.
Nice cut there by Pryl. He's got McDonald on him. Pryl up ahead to Wodach. See if DC kills most of the clock, and Wodach trying to deal with the former New York Rumble, Mike Sender. Gets a bump and takes the 10 yards. Wodach with time. Across the field. Is Peter in? He is.
Good field awareness to make sure he got his feet in there and verify the score. leaving 17 seconds on the clock for Boston to get one more score before the quarter ends.
DC 4, Boston 3.
17 seconds left to go. Boston got their last point with just 13 seconds used, so should be plenty of time for them.
Expect to see DC sitting back in a zone a little bit here. Yeah, they've got at least 3 players deep.
Approaching 10 seconds. Montgomery Butler, that is way too much of a floating disc for Taylor.
Not sure why Egan didn't just catch that disc and turn around. The time is running out right now as he ran away from the Frisbee.
Yeah, not realizing they do get a throw off. Herskew right there defensively tips it away. And that will be the books for the first quarter. Back and forth. Boston came out with a 2-0 lead. DC came back, scored 3 straight, and take a 4-3 lead as we head into the second.
They really needed to get that chance at the end of the quarter, but DC's strength on defense is paying off as always.
Canterbury, the official apparel supplier to Major League Ultimate. Dress like a pro. Visit www.canterburyus.com, the destination for all your team's custom uniforms and athletic apparel needs. Canterbury, proud partner of Major League Ultimate, committed to the game. Go to discstore.com to purchase official merchandise of Major League Ultimate. Game discs, apparel, accessories, and more. Discstore.com is the world's premier supplier of Ultimate Frisbee products and the official store of the MLU. Discstore.com, that's discstore.com.
Start of the second quarter here at Cardinal Stadium. DC with a 4-3 lead. Boston pulling to them. And Ong laying down on the ground to stop that pull.
DC's using a little bit of counteraction compared to their usual pull play, where they go back towards the side that players are stacked on.
And Schaffner. Flick back to Kolek. You got to be careful with Schaffner. Always a threat for the big huck.
He does always have eyes for the end zone, it's true.
It is. He loves it. Lloyd Blake takes a step forward, finds Pryal. McDonald with the tough task of covering Pryal. Up ahead to Wodach. Wodach fakes it. Fakes again and turns back and dumps it back to Blake.
And Blake is such a tough cover at that height. He's got good handles. He's a good cutter.
Long finds Kolek. Kolek looking for the end zone. Roth right there.
That's just not a characteristic flick from Kolek. He didn't put it up and let it sit at all, and it just kind of dove to the ground.
He spent at least the first few weeks of the season without having a pass not connected.
Looks like we may have an injury here for Terry Roth. It looks like a wrist or a finger, something like that. Hate to see Boston lose any more players to injuries or any sort of anything at this point.
Speaking of, Boston, Cody McInnes out today. These are players that played last night, too, against Philadelphia. Sam Kitrow-Schnell, Misha Sidorsky, and Tom Edmonds was kind of a question mark. He said he might be around about 70%. I don't think we've seen him come in. He is dressed as Roth comes out.
And for DC, we have a last-minute scratch for Castine with a stomach virus of some kind, and Tim Jackson is taking his set.
So Eric Stevens checks in after the injury to Roth. Hopefully he's okay. Keep an eye to see if he comes back in. Quickly up ahead to McDonald. I found out last night that Rowan is actually his middle name, so I don't know if it's quite a nickname. Big send there from Wilburn, looking for Simmons, and a big D by Dom Gibson.
Gibson had the inside line on that the entire time because throwing in that direction.
Here's the huck from Schaffner looking for Pryal. It's floating to Boston defenders, and Pryal reels it in for the score. Maybe he'll come back in. 8:33 left to go here in the second quarter. DC now with their largest lead of the game, 5-3. Peter Pryal, as I just said, he scored the last 2 now for the Current. Finished off the first and then got the first one here in the second. As Taylor sends one over to Vitello. Vincenzo Vitello. New face for Boston this season. Montgomery Butler over to Graham. Jeff looking to avoid a stall count this time.
And he was getting a little tight there for a second, but Boston's doing a good job of getting back over to the other side of the field right now. There's a big open deep cut.
Looking for Vitello. He reels it in from Taylor. He fakes a deep one. Graham also fakes that one.
Ooh.
Jeff with a flick, looking for Zid. And Zid comes up. He's just short of the end zone. Zid swings it over to Taylor. Boston looking to Reset is that the dump back to Brower Jarris.
DC's getting really tight now downfield. They're not trying to give any space.
Finds a seam to Vitello, the quick strike, and into Zid. He wasn't close enough the first time, but gets it there.
Yeah, once you get the disc over to the break side near the end zone, it's almost impossible to prevent a score.
So, correction, actually. Zid actually stepped out of bounds, so no score for Boston. And after the timeout, DC will get it right back.
Yeah, and DC has called the timeout to put their O-line out here, and they're really looking to convert this opportunity to get back down the field.
Kind of be a 2-goal swing if they were to get it, Boston not capitalizing on it.
It's a pretty little break there from Kolick, but that's no news.
Here's Doy. Doy swings it over to Schaffner. You got to watch Calvin Ong going deep. There it is. Sender trying to catch up. He's not going to get there, and Ong reels it in from Schaffner.
Not a chance to catch up there. Calvin Ong had made that cut, and he had been open for about 40 or 50 yards, and it was just a matter of time before Schaffner saw him.
6-3. DC starting to pull away a bit here in the second.
On the score, number 88, Calvin. Oh!
Just open all the way over here. The disc just kind of flowed downfield. Well, so the issue with playing with Markham is he'll throw it to you even when you're not open. So you have to be able to make the play.
Does he get mad if you don't make it? No. Okay.
He's just happy looking at his throws.
Okay. Just wants to see him soar through the air. God, look at that go. It was intercepted, but it was a nice pass. 6-3 now the score is DC, like I said, starting to pull away. We had a relatively tight game in the first. And now Boston's still looking for their first score of this second quarter as Brower Jarris gets a catch. He threatens a big.
Nice quick double team there. Good situational awareness from Salmi.
Back to Taylor.
Ooh, that could have been a block.
That was close. Herskew with the catch. Jeff with some space. Now coming over to the mark is Brian Marshall. Up to Little. This one's going to be tough. Oh, Taylor with the layout. Good grab there from the Whitecap veteran.
Helps to be as tall as he is. He can get that full extension all the way out.
Well, that's one of the things Coach Rosenthal talked about before the game is they're short on their D-line. Taylor plays on the O-line. But physically, they don't have a lot of size. Boston being very patient here. Nice little give and go with Montgomery Butler.
Yeah, it's a good circle cut there. Looking like he was going back for the dump and then going upfield.
Graham takes a tumble, and there's a tip and a D.
Looks like that's another D from Fetty Sai. 2 times he's poached off into the lane and gotten a block.
Fetty Sai. As Boston is 2 possessions now. They've gotten right in front of the end zone and can't punch it in. That could come back to haunt them.
Ooh.
There's Minor. That one's floating. Anyone's disc. Anyone, and his name is Jeff Graham. Here's Taylor.
There's an interesting little extra scuba there instead of a backhand.
Adding some flair. Herskew. Big, long put out. Ben Katz, and that one a little bit too far for me. Didn't get a good jump on it.
That's tough, and with the way the wind's coming towards us here, as he put the outside in on the disc there, it floated a little harder and didn't sit well enough for the receiver to get it.
DC's going to use their final timeout, looks like, here with 5:04 left to go. DC gets it back all the way at the other end of the field. They've got just under 5 minutes to push this lead as Ong gets this one up to Doyd. Here's a long huck low. Doherty might have a play on it against Wodach, lunging
Looks
out
like
for the D, and Jeff reels it in, and he's inbounds. No, he's not.
Looked like he just failed to get it in there with the pressure by Doherty on the out-of-bounds throw there.
See the cone there, but then it was right in front of the DC sideline, their bench, so to speak.
Whoa.
There's a big huck from Simmons looking for Doherty, and that's Wodach returning the favor.
It's a really interesting choice there by Boston. He wasn't really open, and Wodach is not the guy you want to challenge deep.
Here's Pryl, now sporting the headband. Wodach up ahead to Doy.
These horizontal cuts from DC right now are doing a great job of breaking down the defense.
Pryl not being able to connect on that one from Doy. I think it floated a little bit with the wind, but Simmons will take the catch D. Slings it out to Doherty, a little high, tipped. Doherty had a second chance on it, and DC gets it back. So
That's 2 straight DC players who threw the turnover or caused the turnover getting it back. That makes a big difference in this game.
here's Ong. Wodach, a little low.
He's got to be able to complete that
This is a
pass.
messy point right now.
He just looked like he was thinking about the win too much instead of just stepping out and throwing the pass to him.
Simmons, crossfield to Stevens, up to McDonald, jumping and making that grab. Here's a big flick. Foster has got it sized up. He's just short of the end zone, though. He's got to wait for his offense. Christian having some trouble now. That one just barely caught, and a little scuba. Back to Foster, and end up for the score. Boston definitely got it that time.
That's a tough loss there for DC on that point. Now they have to determine whether they're going to put their O-line in for another long point, or it looks like they may put most of their D-line out to play offense here.
6-4 now the score as we approach 3 minutes. Mike Miller pulling for Boston. Started to talk in between points. Kind of a low-scoring game given these two teams' history, but the wind, that crosswind, definitely being a factor. Here's Cranston.
And DC's
Whistle.
defensive players are getting a chance here to play offense a bit.
It's an offensive foul away from the disc. This time Wilburn, I think, drawing the contact. And Seth Wiggins.
Well, Seth Wiggins makes a lot of contact when he plays too. The two of them should be fun to watch.
Neither one of them are ready to, they want to get going here. So the offensive foul will back DC up. Refs haven't even ruled it. This is still a dead disc right now. Still discussing.
A little bit of ref conversation here. Not sure exactly how far they're going back. Maybe they're resetting the clock.
Sitting at 2:53 right now. 6-4 game. DC on top of Boston. Last score by Christian Foster was Boston's first. They're being outscored 2-1 here in the second. And still a lot of discussion here at midfield between our refereeing crew.
Looks like DC is gonna come out of this in a bit of a side stack once they eventually get started.
It's going to be Boston disc in the end.
Oh, okay. So it was probably a downfield foul on offense, which would be a turnover.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking at first. And Boston will call timeout. Smartly, they get the extra time with the discussion from the refs, and now the timeout. Get their fresh legs of the O-line back out there. 2:53 left to go. Boston puts their O-line out there. DC puts their D-line out there.
And DC's coming out in, it looks like sort of a clammy zone look with a mark and two guys at the top here. They're trying to challenge Boston to think through the game, not just play through the game.
I think Wiggins is the only guy who stayed out there after the timeout. Here's Montgomery Butler. Graham making a deep cut, now coming back under.
And now
Swings
DC's into a man defense as opposed to that little zone look that they started off the point with.
Broward Jarris gets it back to Butler. Zid, he's shaking off there. Taylor. DC clamping down defensively.
Oh.
Nice block, hand block by Eric Miner.
And that's exactly why they line him up on handlers, so that he can use his length and stop those throws.
Double team here against Ong, who staying out there, and he works out for Boston. Ong with a low throw, trying to get it to Miner, and just turfs it.
The whole idea of including Ong out there is so that once you get the turn, you can convert it. He can't be turfing passes like that.
So Boston will take it back. There's Graham on the far sideline, and he's double teamed. You'd think that would happen more often, that teams would double team Graham, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
You have to do it selectively, though, because if you do it too frequently, Boston will get really used to it.
There's Graham. Ong and him matched up. Some familiarity right there. Montgomery Butler with a hammer. This is going to be tough for Little to get over there, or Zid to get over there. He can't do it.
He turned his wrist over a little bit there. He needed to release that hammer with a little more verticality to it as opposed to the horizontal that he threw it with.
So DC will take it back. Miner is the deep man, really. And now Delrico Johnson.
That is
He's
a
heading
pretty
for the
little
undercut.
throw to get it to Miner.
Johnson gonna air this one out. Taylor has no chance of catching up to this one, but will it stay in bounds?
Oh.
No. Brian Marshall had it red, and it just floated and floated. He reached out and couldn't keep it in or make the catch.
Just a little more sit on that disc would have been a beautiful, beautiful assist from Johnson.
Sliding grab by Zid. Looking, and there's a D.
Oh.
Catch D. Nice job there by Cranston.
He was about 8 feet in front of him on that D.
Travel called by
What? That is a
Wiggins.
ridiculous call.
I think that I saw one of the referees signal the travel.
All he did was get up and throw it within 1 or 2 steps. That's a crazy call.
Now is more discussion. Was Wiggins that had it? Jeff Graham has the disc in his hand right now. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but he was just trying to react quickly enough. Now they're going to give it to Boston.
I would really like to get a look at the video there. I can't imagine how he traveled on that.
I thought maybe at first he was ready to call timeout, but DC doesn't have any left as Graham airs this one out. Zid back there. Brower Jarris going for it. A tip. I think Ong got just a piece of that.
And that's why you can trust Ong on defense. He was one of the team leaders in D's last year on the O-line.
Let's see if DC just airs it out. Gibson has it, and that's the final second. They won't do anything with it. And a very quiet second quarter from both sides, a 2-1 second quarter. And DC with just a 6-4 lead. Very uncharacteristic of these two teams.
DC looked like the better side in the first half, but so by Boston doing a good job maintaining and staying with the disc, they've brought it to within 2.
So Boston will head back to the locker room, try and make some adjustments. DC will come out and see if they can hold on to this lead. 6-4 here at Cardinal Stadium.
Go to discstore.com to purchase official merchandise of Major League Ultimate, game discs, apparel, accessories, and more. Discstore.com is the world's premier supplier of Ultimate Frisbee products and the official store of the MLU. Discstore.com, that's discstore.com. Stop your hands from sweating and increase your performance with Gamer Grip. This non-sticky solution allows you to make better throws and grab better catches without a hint of slippage.
Six to 5, DC still on top, but Boston, that was a long point. Nearly half the quarter gone on that first point as we have 5:52 left to go.
That was one of the nicer pulls so far today. That sat up, and the offensive player couldn't catch it cleanly.
Here's Ong. Banerjee, another one of the former New York Rumble players, backing off of him defensively a little bit. Wodach on the far side. Finds Pryl. Peter looking to air this one out. Stevens is there defensively looking for Tom Doy. It's still up in the air, and no one saw where it went in the second time, and Simmons will collect it and start over.
There were 2 open deep cuts there, and he just airmailed the throw.
Quickly back up to Simmons from Foster. Simmons took a hit earlier in this one, was shaken up a bit, but seems to be running out there fine. Banerjee floats one out, looking for Foster. It would be his second score of the game. Pryl misread it a little bit, mistimed his jump. And Sifo, Christian Foster, comes down with his second score of the game.
It looks at first like they both misread that disc. The wind carried it closer to us, and the offensive player was in better position and made the nice, slick, one-handed grab.
5:04 left to go in the third quarter. Boston's tied it back up, so we'll start over. Tied at 6 as Mike Miller ready to pull. I think we just might have gotten a delay of game.
Yeah, something seems to,
Boston.
yeah, they're going to be pulling from the back of the end zone here.
That's what it is. Delay a game against Boston, so much better field position for DC. Miller still gets a pretty decent pull off. The wind's going to carry it back a little bit, and Ong will catch it right around that 35-yard line to start things off. Kolek airs this one out, looking for Doy. 3 Boston defenders back. Can Tom Doy get it? He does.
He only beat triple coverage off of the pull as the entire Boston defense watched him do it.
Tom Doy with a big catch makes it 7-6. DC. 4:55 left to go in the third quarter. DC gets one back, now pulling with the lead 7-6. And what I continue to say it's just overall been a low-scoring game. Obviously, the wind has been a factor, but See if Boston can respond. Here's Montgomery Butler, had an assist on Boston's last goal. This one's floating a little too high for Brower Jarris, and Miner knocks it away just to be safe.
The Wind has been the 15th player on the field all day today.
Really has. Freddie Sy gets it up to Miner. Over to Bellinger. Zid lost his man. That's John Hagan.
It was a really nice put there from Bellinger to find that space, not put it out too far and let the Wind get it, and just get there before any defensive player had a shot.
DC back up to 8-6 after the break.
Good job getting down there by Norbom on the pole.
Little going down to the ground, making that catch. Swings it around on the far side. That's Herskew. Finding Graham, and Graham elevating. Good catch there for the Sky.
Boy, he makes the difficult plays look easy.
And you know, it's funny because Jeff's not the biggest guy either.
No, but he just pops
But
off
he
the
can do it.
ground.
Right. Here's Herskew. That one more in Graham's wheelhouse. No, they all are a lot of times. That big fake flick that he has. Gets it over to Little.
Boston is looking stagnant here on offense.
Yeah, no one's really moving. Has to dump it back again. They find Taylor. Still stuck kind of right around midfield. That one off the mark, and it's going to be another catch D. DC will take it back. Johnson gets it up to Gibson, dumps it right back.
Boston's starting to look tired here on defense, too.
Norbom.
This is where DC tends to start taking an aggressive advantage against their opponents when they tire the offense out.
Cranston found Johnson. Up to Gibson now. DC, like you said, Dusty looking to take advantage. Boston, and we get a stall, so good defense on the mark from Matt Little.
Was indeed. Well, even if he had gotten that off, Cranston dropped the easy swing pass, so it would have been a turn anyway.
Either way. Actually, Boston might have even wanted the other one to get a little farther down the field. Taylor airing this one out. Herskew just has to catch up to it, reels it in, stumbles a little bit, but maintains control all the way down to the ground. Pull from Boston. 2:31 left to go here in the third quarter. They've cut it back, and a little misplay, though. The roll helps out DC in out of their own end zone. John Neely, one of the new faces, gets it back to Kolick. Kolick gets Ong. 41 for Boston. That's Victor Liu up there, and a turn.
Both teams are floating a lot of passes on the far side of the field right now. It's just got to be the win. We can't stop talking about it.
Boston looking for the break. Simmons, who just played that last point on offense, can't connect there. A little too far out of the reach of McDonald. And DC will take it back. Schaffner, he's got it now. He's been relatively quiet, but there's the windup for the big Huck. One man back defensively and offensively. This one just floats a little bit too much for Tom Doy. I don't think Stevens got a hand on it, but now Doy grabbing his leg, his left leg.
Yeah, it looks like he came down a little funny, maybe on the heel there or something like that.
And he looks to be in pain. Tom Doy being helped off the field. Hopefully he'll be okay. Hate to see that. Boston will take the disc back here in third quarter as we approach a minute.
Boston's getting pushed a little too deep here on offense. Okay, they're recovering now.
Swing it
They're
out to
recovering.
Simmons. Trying to get past Neely. Big Huck from Richardson. It's a little low line drive, and they can't connect with Banerjee as Ong takes the D and immediately throws it away. Lloyd Blake, he was trying to get it to. That's twice we've seen Ong do that.
It's not characteristic of him as a player generally. He's very steady with his throws.
Matt Little coming back out and playing on what would be the D line. He's been primarily on the O line, and
Interesting way to draw a foul there.
McDonald maybe selling it a little bit and
Ooh.
led Simmons too much. He laid out, but just an inch or two past his outstretched arm.
slowing this game down here with some calls, with some turnovers. We'll see who comes out ahead.
So DC will take it back up. See if they can do this before time runs down. 30 seconds left to go here in the third. Kolick maybe hearing it from the PA announcer, floats one up. Wodach, a couple of players still in there. Boston intercepts it. They've got time here. Stevens in control with a lot of space. Now Kolick comes up for the mark. Quickly overhead to Simmons. Simmons lets it, leads it, finds Banerjee, and he's pumped up with the big spike.
That was a nice job drawing out the time before he caught that disc. It doesn't allow the mark to set. It lets him get a good view of the field, and the cut setting up for the goal was perfect.
Innova is proud to support Major League Ultimate and its incredible athletes. As the official disc of the MLU, the Innova Pulsar has quickly become the disc of choice at Ultimate's highest level. Visit innovadisc.com to find a dealer near you. Can Jam, proud sponsor of MLU 2015. Can Jam is a fast-paced disc game perfect for the backyard, tailgating, or warming up for Ultimate. Get Can Jam today at the team store or online at canjam.com. Use bonus code ULTIMATE for 10% off your purchase.
Start of the fourth quarter. There's 10 minutes left to go in this one. All tied up at 8. Boston started to say.
Oh, you got to field that.
There's a big bounce. That's Neely.
Great job getting down on this pole, too.
Neely and Kolick looking very similar out there with the big headbands.
Oh, and enough hair to hold it back.
Exactly.
Kyle seems to have a headband out there with nothing underneath it, really.
DC in control. They find Wodach reaching up and grabbing that one. We've seen Jeff handling a lot more this afternoon as opposed to being a big downfield cutter. Maybe, obviously, with the wind, a little bobble.
It's a drop there from Cantone.
So Boston with a good opportunity, good field position here to get another break and take the lead back. They haven't had it since it was 2-0, and they immediately give it back. Neely thought about putting it downfield to Blake. He holsters the trigger, though.
Blake didn't even really commit to that cut. That's how you can tell he was more of a handler. He didn't take off deep despite the fact that the guy covering him is about 7 or 8 inches shorter, it looks like.
Now he's working with Schaffner. Schaffner reels in that one, and here's his huck. Lots of players downfield for DC. That's Kolick, and Kolick, an easy throw over to Neely. DC runs their offense very fluidly there.
On these windy days, one of the best things you can have is a big thrower who can put it in either direction. Schaffner made that play, whether the throw looked pretty or not.
9-8 the score now as Kolick connects with Neely. Probably his easiest assist he might get the entire season.
Well, in this win, nothing's looking easy, but yeah.
Exactly, yeah. That's true. Just had to toss it right in front of him, and that pole sails out of bounds. Now Taylor will pick it up and bring it in. Boston actually won the third quarter. Came out of that one winning 4-2. DC had taken both the first and second. And right now has the first score here in the fourth. This one, a big floater. And it's tipped up by a couple of guys, and it winds up on the ground. So DC looking for another break.
His throwers are just not keeping the nose of the disc down, throwing into the wind on the far side of the field.
For DC. They're moving quickly, and Katz gets in the passing lane. I don't know if DC saw him.
It looked like Salmi had no idea he was there. It was a heads-up play by Katz, though, for sure.
Just hanging out in the lane. Low throw over to Graham.
If you're just going to be hanging out, it's good to be hanging out in a place where the other team's just going to throw it at you.
Where the disc's going to go. That's the spot. Here's Jeff Graham. Boston resetting their vertical stack. Katz looking like he wanted to go deep. Instead, nice cut by Graham. This time he will send it to Katz deep. Ben Katz, a UMass alum, can't come up with that one. He had a defender draped all over him. And DC will take it back.
Every one of these players is having some issue on these deep shots. That should have been an easy catch or deep, but neither player managed to touch it.
Freddie Sy was right there too, but like you just said, no one touched it. Just couldn't read it.
Well, on the other hand, that's a good defensive play.
Coming in, this is going to be a good offensive play, but Lisa Herskew
did a great job getting his body in the way there. Egan could not get around him to make a play on the disc.
Yeah, no one touched it that time, but just good body presence from Herskew, and Montgomery Butler was in the mix too. Oh, and Taylor, I think, was looking already ahead to the throw there and didn't make the catch. Quickly comes over to the double team, and timeout called by Coach Moldenhauer here for DC. Out of timeout, Alan Kolick will start things off here for the Current. Looking for Pryal. He's got him.
Kolick's ability to just move the disc a little bit in his hands, shift his body weight a little bit, and make the mark irrelevant made that possible.
7:05 left to go. DC goes back up by 2. That's a short pull. Sails all the way over to this near side, and Jake Taylor will pick it up. Taylor, crossfield to Graham. A little close. Cranston was right there with him. Here's Brower Jarris. Tim Jackson, one of the new faces here for DC, out on the mark.
Yeah, taking the place of Castine, who went down with some sort of illness.
A Scuber to Graham. Jeff taking his time.
Oh, which he's been a little guilty of taking too much time today.
That was early. I think he's adjusted. Montgomery Butler looking for a big huck. He's got Graham making the catch. Graham lays out, but he can't reach out and grab that one.
That was the
Not
place it needed to
happy.
be as Cranston was trying to close down on that disc, but it was a little too far.
Looked like a good throw initially from Montgomery Butler, and even Jeff has a tough time getting that one now. A little bump from Cranston trying to assert himself offensively.
He's working to create a little bit of space there from the mark.
Quickly over to Fleming. Crossfield, here's a huck going downfield. Delrico Johnson back there, Gibson as well, and it's Montgomery Butler with the long arms.
He had the position, and he went up at just the right time. The other two guys didn't get a chance to make a run at the disc. They had to jump from a standstill.
Here's Zed. Zed's been relatively quiet today after having a big game last night against Philly. Graham looking to air this one out to Montgomery Butler, and he falls backwards and in for the score.
Awkward catches and goals count just as much. He did a good job checking that disc as it hopped going towards him.
Boston cuts it back to 1, 10-9 the DC lead, and the Whitecaps have not led since it was 2-0 back in the first. Kolick looking to air it out for Pryal. McDonald giving chase. Pryal, no problem for Peter.
Wow. That's the second time that DC has essentially called a go play on the far sideline with a cutter going straight upfield, and Boston was just totally unable to stop them.
Peter Pryal having a nice debut of the 2015 season. He's got 4 scores on the game, and back-to-back ones here now for DC as they extend their lead to 11-9. Boston has to be wary of the clock to keep this in this. Graham hucks one deep for Foster, and he reels it in, as now these two teams just going back and forth to who can score the quickest. 11-10, DC on top as Boston gets a quick one back from Christian Foster, getting it from Jeff Graham to Christian Foster as Eric Stevens pulls for the Whitecaps.
And now the Whitecaps are looking in a little bit of a matchup zone here to make sure they don't get beat deep early.
Quickly up to Cantone. There's Wodach finding Pryal, going to his, sliding on his knees. It's a right back to Wodach. Oh, that was pretty offense.
Yeah, they stopped the immediate deep look, but they gave up the seam straight down this side of the field.
12-10, DC back up by 2 as right now these two teams just trading points, and that will work out in DC's favor as the clock winds down. We're at 5 minutes exactly.
They've picked up the scoring pace here, and it looks like we're not going to have the lowest scoring game in MLU history any longer.
That's a 13-12 record. Happened a couple of times, you said. So.
Yeah, usually those tend to be windy affairs.
And we have one here. Ooh, Matt Little nearly bobbled it. Or he did bobble it, nearly lost it for a second.
Another nice little reset cut there by Butler to shake Cy on the D.
Brower Jarris finds Christian Foster. And Sifo, who had been on the D-line for the first 3 quarters, has come out here and played some offense and made them pay. I wish I had been here for the playoff game last year, though.
It's fun.
Watch that home.
This is
Timeout called here. A lot of confusion of what's going on.
looked like Boston just put the disc down there and then challenged DC to run down and pick it up in time. And basically, we weren't even sure that the pull had happened. Very sneaky.
That's some heads-up coaching from Sam Rosenthal. A little bit of a gamble if DC gets down there because they're right on the edge, but interesting play calling. Well, play resumes, and DC will get it right on the end zone. Boston's gamble doesn't work, and Kolick just floats one in.
There was an open player, and the double team didn't really apply enough pressure to prevent the throw from going there.
So with 4:27 left to go, Boston's gamble there didn't really work out. DC gets the score, but it did force DC to use their last timeout, which could be huge for them. So Boston trailing by 2 again, 13-11. Taylor finds Foster, who seems to have made a permanent switch here to this O-line.
Ooh, Taylor's going deep.
There's Vincenzo trying to air one out, and Taylor's just not going to come close to catching up to this one.
Yeah, the DC defender actually made a better cut there than Taylor did. He was already on that side of the field.
Double team by Brower, Jarris, and Taylor. DC trying to find a seam here with Ryan Nam, and defense works for Boston. They get the stall, and they'll get the disc right here on the edge of the end zone.
It's one of the situations where it may not have actually been to his advantage to catch that disc and bring it back in immediately.
Brower, Jarris with the double team, trying to fake around a couple of guys and actually draws some contact. There's no real way he can move forward, but he'll get to center the disc. You have to think of something when you can't move forward 10 yards.
Yeah, I like this change because you're generally in a disadvantageous situation when you're trapped on the sideline.
Sends one out. Montgomery Butler, he's not in. Oh, no, he is. They signal him in. Well, they did it again. Boston has done it again. They faked the pull, trying to draw DC all the way down. You see Boston just kind of talking, kind of like the hidden ball trick in baseball. So DC will get it back. Kolick able to pull it in, gets it back to the edge of the end zone, and then floats one all the way into the back, and it works again for DC.
This is a really strange tactic by Boston. I'm not sure I quite understand what the goal here is. They're just conceding easy goals to DC right now.
Cantone once again on the score makes it 14-12.
We're still figuring out all this strategies in the sport.
3:13 left to go. DC will actually pull it to Boston. And the Whitecaps trying to gamble here and catch DC napping. So far, the Current have done a good job at not biting.
Yeah, the chicanery just doesn't seem to be paying off for Boston, but we're going to play the rest of the game now, and we'll see what happens.
Taylor, a little high one to Foster, though. He goes up and makes that grab. Nicely done. Finds Brower Jarris. Boston trying to move quick here. We're under 3 minutes. Brower Jarris puts one out, looking for Zid. Can he catch up to it? He lunges. He lays out. He makes the grab. So with 2:46 left to go, Christian Foster will send a spin pull down and get it to go out of bounds just past the midfield mark. Allows Boston to get their defense down. They're going to double team Kolick. McDonald and Simmons right there. Boston basically trying to avoid a chance. And Terry Roth, who was injured earlier, comes back in and D's the disc right there against Calvin Ong. Big play.
Yeah, a little more space on the field, and they got more chances to play defense now.
We just talked between points that most comparative you can do is as Doherty can't reach up and get that one, and then Wodat just has to send a floater out. That's Schaffner, and he reels it in. No problem.
Yeah, throwing that backhand again, turns over by sitting up in the wind, and Boston lost a golden opportunity there to get back into this game.
On the score, number 90, Marco Schaffner, the second score of the game. And the assist to number 45, yes, Wodak, his third assist of the game. DC beats Boston 15-13.
.219 left to go here in the game, I should say, and DC pulls ahead on the Wodach to Schaffner connection. Markham has been relatively quiet in this
Whoa.
one. Hits it back and got a foul. Miles is getting beat up in this game for Boston.
Yeah, he's getting the disc a lot. There's a lot of business going on, and we're trying to close in, and Rico's just trying to get the play there. Disc arrived a little bit faster than he was prepared for.
Well, they shake hands. Nothing personal. Miles shakes it off, sends one out to a wide-open Christian Foster. Gets it up to Graham. Graham has Gibson on him now. Looking for Taylor. Taylor beats Wiggins to that spot. Taylor fakes one to Butler. Here's Graham. He's a little on the dump. Graham just pulls that one away from Gibson. Now he's in a little give and go with Zid.
Oh, it's a good little switch there.
Good awareness defensively by Gibson. And I believe that's, not sure who picked Graham up.
Fleming.
That's Salmi. So timeout as Montgomery Butler was in danger of drawing the stall. He sent one out to Foster and he didn't make the catch, so good timeout here for Boston.
15, Boston 13.
1:14 left to go. Boston got to work quickly here as Taylor gets double teamed out of the timeout. Sends one quickly out to Katz. Katz trying to get around Gibson. Finds Brower Jarris and into Little for the score. 1 minute left to go here at Catholic University Cardinal Stadium. Let's set the stage. I said there's a minute left. It's a 15-14 game. DC on top, and we'll be receiving this pull. But Boston used their final timeout after the last score. With the new rules here in the MLU, they will pull from midfield and try and pin DC on that back yard line at the end of the end zone.
The score is 15
Now,
14.
given Boston's recent history in this game, is will they pull? I think they will. As Christian Foster winds up, and that one, he's got it. Rolls out the back, and Ong will pick up the other disc there hanging out at the back sideline.
Oh, now they're going to get up to Schaffner instead. A little more firepower there, picking it up right away.
So if DC's smart, they can just play a short game and kill off the clock, but Schaffner wants to launch it. Doherty has a play on it, and he knocks it down. He was looking for Pryal, but now we've got a whistle back at the other end. They say he traveled anyway.
Wow.
So Boston will take the travel and get the call all the way at the other end of the field and have a chance to punch it in and tie this up at 15.
Wow, this is a
52
big
seconds
development
left.
here.
Simmons is going to pick it up. Boston does have Graham and Herskew on there from the O-line. They find it right to Jeff Graham. How do you let him get that open with Graham, the emphatic spike?
On the other hand, that all happened so quickly that there's still almost 50 seconds left in this game, so we're pretty much in the same situation.
So Boston pulling back to DC. 49 seconds they put on the clock. This one rolling. Ong able to collect it, and he'll get it up to Kolek. This one floating a little bit, but nicely dug out.
With no defense in the zip code yet, it didn't really matter. Blake had all the time he wanted.
Graham still out
Oh.
there. Low dig out by Pryal. He waited for that disc to come to him. Nearly turfed it. Pryal airs this one out downfield. Out of bounds. No
Wow.
call. Peter wanted a whistle.
It's another execution error in a situation in which they did the exact thing that you don't want to do. Throw it out of bounds and not get any yards. Travel on the back of the end zone. This looks like DC is having an issue with either mental focus or execution errors right now.
24.5 exactly left to go. Boston will have a chance here. Sends it up to Stevens.
Go!
Stevens bobbles it, and he's able to retain it. Oh, no, we had a whistle before it anyway, so Simmons will walk it up. He starts off. It's Simmons, Stevens, Herskew, Doherty, Graham. Back to Stevens and another whistle.
And we've got a player down here. It looks like there must have been somebody running in or something here. Missed it here.
Injury timeout.
That's Schaffner. He seems to be okay. Sam Rosenthal wanted to get Miles Montgomery Butler in the game, but he can't make a substitution in this scenario, so Miles will have to come back to the sideline. Stevens has the disc. Schaffner on the mark. Eric Redshirt Stevens looking for an open man. Finds Herskew. Herskew up to Simmons. It's not caught, but there's a whistle.
And Cantone just fell down there. They had an open receiver in the end zone. All they had to do was complete it.
Fans here in D.C. not happy about that, as D.C. is whistled once again, and they are keeping Boston alive with just 9 seconds left here.
It's coming back anyway. All right, they'll get another crack at it here. Is it going to be a hammer? Is he going to throw a hammer down to this sideline? It's the only way this game can end, right?
Yeah, it's the way we saw it happen last season. It was Boston's second game there, too. He floats it up to Graham. Jeff has to reel it, and he's got it. Jeff Graham puts Boston up 16-15 with 6.5 left on the clock.
That's just another mental error by DC there. They left one of the most impressive and most decorated players in the MLU waltz into the end zone uncovered.
6.5 left to go here. DC will look to tie it up. They've got Wodach, Kolick, Schaffner, Pryl, Ong, Del Rico Johnson, and I believe that's Cantor. Cranston. Cantor's not even here this season. Just remembering the past.
Oh, my.
Offside's called on Boston, so DC will get favorable field position. 6.5 left to go. Kolick will pick it up. Might have time for one throw before the big huck. He's got Schaffner to his right. You got to keep an eye on him. He goes to Schaffner. Schaffner, no mark on him, puts up with a flick. It's kind of Blady. There's a catch.
No!
There we go. Johnson makes the catch. We are headed to overtime.
That was incredible. That's an incredible way to send this game to overtime. We're going to get some extra free Frisbee.
Del Rico Johnson with the catch of his career right there. He might have had some highlight plays from the last couple seasons, but that game right there as we head to extra ultimate. Said you had one time for maybe one extra throw. They found Schaffner, and Schaffner with a big blade just finds Del Rico Johnson in the end zone.
Point Six Socks, the official sock sponsor of Major League Ultimate. Check out www.point6.com for their full line of performance merino wool socks. Skippy, the official peanut butter of the MLU, made with the funnest peanuts ever. Skippy Yippee! Do you have an athletic event, team trip, or corporate outing coming up? If so, charter a private bus, minibus, or party bus from U.S. Coachways. Bus travel is one of the safest, greenest, and most comfortable ways to get your group to an event. If you're going with a group, trust U.S. Coachways. That's what we do.
Jeff Graham for Boston had the goal to tie the game at 15-15. He had the goal to put them up ahead 16-15. But then with just mere seconds left, Alan Kolick quickly found Markham Schaffner, who had what I would not call a good throw, a Blady flick.
You may not call it a good throw. I'm just going to call it a goal.
A goal is Del Rico Johnson. And then Jeff Graham nearly got off another one with just 0.4 of a second left. Here we are in overtime. Boston starting off, and they immediately turn it over. Gibson with the catch, and now they float
this is
one
ugly.
out.
This is the entire team is there.
Everybody's there. Both teams. Who's coming away with it? Nobody.
And not a single player on DC decided to try to play the tip there, which is really not the way you want to set up in a situation like that. The odds in that getting caught cleanly are not that good.
Here's Montgomery Butler starting off for Boston. Finds Taylor. A little too high. That one floats, and now DC back in position right in front of the end zone. That's Nam. Nam floats one out there. Butler out there. Del Rico Johnson. He had the tie to 16-16. He gets the first goal in overtime. Johnson's catch puts the Current back up 17-16. This one's going to roll towards Boston. Foster stops the roll, and Taylor will pick it up. Flicks one out. Graham lays out. Can't connect with it, though, and DC has a chance to go up 2 now.
It's pretty clear that DC is benefiting from starting on D here.
Eric Salmi starting things off. DC looking for back-to-back breaks. That one floats too high. Whistle. It was caught by Boston, and it'll be against the Whitecaps, and DC will take it back.
Not clear exactly where that foul happened, but he got bailed out on a pretty subpar throw there.
Freddie Sy, right at midfield. It's up to Agan. Back to Sy. That's First. Charlie First. Nice layout there by Sy. Now he has to deal with Butler. Dumps it back and then gets it right back. Freddie Sy running the offense here for DC.
Yeah, and they're needing to because their downfield cutters are really disjointed. Their timing is off. Their spacing is a little bad. They have one guy 50 yards away right now, taking away all of the deep shots.
If anything, they're killing a lot of the clock as we approach 3 minutes. Sy has it back. He got one from Bellinger. Dumps it back to him. Both teams are given a timeout, too, in overtime. That one floats, and that one gets away from Sy, and Boston will take it back.
Bellinger was asking for a little too much with that late stall count, inside break into the wind there.
2:50 left to go in the overtime. Butler up ahead to Simmons. Simmons lunges out, makes a grab. He's got Foster in the end zone trying to beat his man. Intercepted, though, nicely by First. I don't think Simmons saw him.
It's an excellent coming from behind play, giving enough energy to get there. And then Salmi just throws it away.
Looking for First. Graham picks it up. We'll start it off. Fakes that forehand. Sends a small one out to Little. Right back to Jeff. He's got Taylor right there. Ooh, big layout bid. Not connecting, though, was Cantone.
It's interesting to put that scooper out there and actually prevented the D from happening.
And Jeff with the catch and the score as he jumps into the end zone. Graham has scored Boston's last 3. Boston pulling once again, getting that one to roll out the sideline right in front of the DC bench. Ong picks it up, gets it over to Kolick. Terry Roth on the mark.
Boston again into a matchup zone here.
And he gets the stall. Roth's had 2 big defensive plays. He had a tip for a D that Boston ended up throwing away right after, but he still got it, and now he gets a stall on one of the game's most feared handlers, Alan Kolick.
He was helped there by the downfield D with Boston because they were making Kolick think about where the open player was instead of just seeing him.
Foster swings it around to Doherty. Under 2 minutes left in the overtime, and a timeout called by Boston. Out of the timeout, Boston will get their O-line back out there. Montgomery Butler will start things off. DC pretty much maintains the same line. They've got a little bit of a hybrid. Delrico Johnson, Dom Gibson out there with the rest of the regular O-line guys. And Butler and Johnson get tied up. As I said it earlier, he's taking a beating in this one.
He's putting himself out there a lot, drawing some of the fouls, not shying away from contact. It's been a good game from him on the whole.
He'll be sore tomorrow, but he'll shake it off now. Now he'll have to back up. So he'll go right back to where he was. Butler trying to swing it around, gets it to Little, had to extend and reach up for that one. Boston getting backed up a little bit here. Get it back to Butler. Butler up ahead, threads the needle to Taylor. 1:30 left to go in the overtime. Finding Brouwer Jarris. Teddy inside to Butler. Butler still being covered tightly by Johnson. Montgomery Butler floating one out, looking for missing rescue, and a nice D there from Jeff Wodach.
It's a little bit of a lazy throw. He needed to put that higher and out of reach of the defender. And while Wodach barely got there, he
DC
made the play.
Have approximately 1 minute as Kolick picks up the disc and sends it into play. He gets it up to Pryl. Brouwer Jarris on the mark. Still tied at 17. We're under a minute now. That's Cranston. Johnson has it. Delrico, really the one who sent this into overtime.
Wow.
Quickly up ahead, Calvin Ong. Pryl streaking downfield. Here's a hammer. Wodach all alone. He makes the catch.
That's a heck of a throw by Ong. He's a way to find the open player and just drop it over the defense.
39.8 seconds to be exact left in the overtime here. DC holding on right now to an 18-17 lead. They called timeout after their last score, so they will pull from midfield. Boston ready to go. Usual suspects that have been out there for most of the time on the offense. Back out there with the exception of Eric Stevens has come in. Came in for Ben Katz. It'll be Stevens, Foster, Simmons, Graham, Taylor, Montgomery Butler, and Little across the end zone line. This one's going to roll. Taylor keeps it in, at least from the back sideline. Good catch by Foster, and foul away from the disc. Agan was giving chase to Foster as well as Cranston, both in there. They double team him. He sends a blade up towards Taylor. 28 seconds left to go. Taylor finds Graham. Graham able to shake off some room, gets it up ahead to Stevens. Stevens centers it with Graham. Graham trying to get around Pryl. Former teammates. Little. 10 seconds left to go here. Boston's going to have to put it. Taylor puts it up. They're looking for Foster. He's got Agan there, as well as Wodach. Gibson coming in, and Foster makes the catch.
Wow. Wow. This is an incredible
what a catch.
game.
Taylor to Foster. What? What?
On the score, number 11, Christian Foster.
When these two teams play,
The assist,
except that one game in Boston last year.
Jacob
That was
Taylor.
awful.
His second assist.
One where DC just undressed him. It was ridiculous.
With
Yeah,
3
just
seconds
came in
remaining.
and destroyed him.
And
Got out of
Will
hand in a hurry.
Yeah. That was ugly quick. So are they gonna pull?
Yeah, just stop it. That would catch him off guard.
So it stays at 3 seconds. Man, what a catch.
It was the throw, too.
Yeah.
Sailed
Right
all
over
the way
it.
over.
Whoa. 3 seconds left to go. Boston's defense trying to hold on here and send this to sudden death. It's a long roller all the way back to Schaffner, and he's going to let the wind push it around. Schaffner puts it up. It's a low line drive coming in, and it's D'd up by Foster, the man who just caught the last one, and we are headed
And that will end
to
the
double
overtime
game
period,
point.
tied at 18. We now head to sudden death.
Sudden death here at Cardinal Stadium. Boston will receive the disc first. Each team will get one timeout, tied at 18. Boston looking to avenge their loss in the Eastern Conference Finals last year and actually improve their record to 500 after losing to Philadelphia in their first game. Calvin Ong is going to pull for DC. Boston with Broward, Jarvis, Montgomery, Butler, Herskew, Taylor, Simmons, Graham, and Foster. And now they're pulling him back to the sideline.
Timeout called. Timeout DC.
DC has already called timeout. So they will get that midfield pull. Waiting for the referees to have the field good to go.
And just as a reminder, this last point here in double game point overtime, there is no clock.
None. DC used their one timeout, so Boston does have a timeout. If they were able to get downfield, they can use it potentially to set up their offense. Here's the pull from Ong. He sends it spinning, and it should land and roll out the back, so Boston will start from the back of the end zone. Simmons will start things off. Pick it up. Taylor starts things off, and he draws contact, goes down to the ground.
That's a little floppy, I think. It looks like he just turned to his side and fell down.
I believe that was Cranston. So Taylor has it, sends it over to Simmons. So now we have more whistles. Pick against Boston. So Taylor will have to march it back just in front of the end line, not quite the very back. About a step in front.
The
That's a
crowd's
low
getting
throw to
quite loud
Graham.
out here.
Graham airs this one out. Foster, he's been a big hero. Can he catch this one down? He's got a man coming. Cranston.
Wow. That is
What
a
a
great chase down by Fleming. That's just an incredible effort on his part.
Ben Fleming laying out and getting the D against Christian Foster. So DC will take it back. Kolick will start it off. And then Taylor lunging for it. It's knocked loose. And they're going to call a foul against Taylor.
Not entirely sure that was a foul. There was a lot of contact there, but it's going to get back to Cranston anyway, and we'll see what happens next.
Cranston will get it back. Excellent defense from Taylor. Just a little too much contact. Up to Pryl. He's got Herskew on him. Pryl along the sideline finds Kolick. Kolick in great position looking for Delrico Johnson. That's the game.
Wow. Yet again, another beautiful upline cut by Kolick, leading to an easy flick goal to a receiver in the end zone. And now Boston has started the season 0-2.
Two close matches. Boston drops them both. This one in overtime or sudden death. And Delrico Johnson, a big hero in this one. He caught the 16th goal that sent it into overtime and now gets the sudden death winner.
All he's doing is catching the big goals. This has been a great day out here. It's getting a little chilly now. The storm's about to come in, and it's about time to clear out the stadium.
I think the storm came in already in this game as a whole. A great game here. Boston drops to 0-2 on the young season. DC will improve to 1-0 as the Current will host the Spinners next weekend. That's a live stream game from the MLU. Boston will head back home and host the Rumble and look for their first win. On behalf of Dusty Rhodes, our camera person, Dana Matson, I'm Jeff Poster, and for the rest of the MLU, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Final score, 19-18 DC over Boston.